Hello everyone and welcome to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy, where we showcase Magic's most powerful formats. My name is Eugene and I'll be your commentator for this round 3 from April 19th. We have Fred coming back from round 1 playing his blue-red Delver deck. This deck typically wins through sticking a Dragon's Rage Channeler, Delver of Secrets, or Murktide Regent backed up by all sorts of permission, force of will, daze, that kind of thing, and digging with expressive iteration. We've seen it before, we'll see it again. On the right, we have Kelvin playing his Goblin Charbelcher list. This is a combo deck that wins through the titular Goblin Charbelcher, dealing 40 plus damage to their opponent because they only have one land in the whole deck. And if they fetch that up with the land grant, then it just flips the whole deck over and kills them that way. And it's also secretly, or maybe not so secretly, a storm deck using things like Rite of Flame, Seething Song, Desperate Ritual to cast the Empty the Warrens for a bunch of goblins, and it can also reload itself with the Echo of Eon's Lion's Eye Diamond package. So combo versus tempo, let's get things started. We see Fred on turn 1 here playing that Dragon's Rage Channeler, getting that deployed, trying to ride this to victory over several turns. Passing it back to Kelvin, looks like he's trying to deploy either a Simian Spirit Guide to exile it, where he can get an extra mana. Does have that Chrome Mox. I think he is limited a little bit by an event from the past and only has access to his right hand to play, but we're really happy to see him at the store. He actually wanted to imprint that monkey onto the Chrome Mox with that triggered ability, but it never actually entered the battlefield because it got dazed, so that monkey is back in hand. He did deploy the Lion's Eye Diamond, though. So monkey back to hand. Lion's Eye Diamond in play, passing it back to Fred. He did have to return that island, of course, because of the daze's alternate cost. Just seeing a Brainstorm and a Surveil. Surveil, of course, getting all these cards into the graveyard to turn on the Delirium of the DRC. Not quite there yet. Just have, I believe it's land and instant in the grave right now. So only chugging in for 1. Daze doesn't really seem to put back the Delver player at all, just because, you know, once you already have your threat in play, nothing else really matters. Looks like Kelvin didn't have a play there since he doesn't have a ton of actual lands. It's more like deploying a Lotus Petal if he does get the 1 Taiga. Also has access to Shatter Skull Smashing, which is a modal land flips into a land. All right, we see the Simian Spirit Guide getting fired off there to cast the Desperate Ritual, which cast his one of Gamble. This is going to get him a card from his deck. Random one. Or not a random one. He gets to search for the card, but then he has to randomly discard the card. He searched up the Echo of Eons, which it doesn't matter which card actually gets discarded here. A Seething Song going to the grave. Because he can crack that Lion's Eye Diamond now to basically discard his whole hand, float that 3 blue mana, and then activate the Echo of Eons, shuffling up both decks and drawing an extra 7 for both. Now, this is a little bit of a risk, especially against a blue player, potentially drawing into some permission counter magic. But Kelvin is going to go for it because he didn't have any other play at the time. We saw him have 2 Charbelchers. That was probably 1 too many to have in hand at any given time. And his storm count is 2 right now. I think it's actually 3 because he cast the Gamble as well. We see a Chrome Mox imprinted land grant into a Tinderwall. Tinderwall also just another thing that's going to generate a bunch of mana. I don't know if Kelvin has any floating mana, but we're going to see a Manamorphose, just another card to up the storm count. Lotus Petal, Taiga, Desperate Ritual. And that's going to be a casted Shatter Skull Smashing, dealing with those 2 Dragon's Rage Channelers. So Kelvin not in a great place right now. He's going to be top decking for a while, but at least he dealt with Fred's board. Fred has to kind of reset here. Volcanic Island and a Brainstorm. Fred probably in a better place than Kelvin at the moment, just because he still has a handful of gas, or a handful of something, versus Kelvin's handful of nothing at the moment. Ooh, that's a tough play. We see the Brazen Borrower petty thefting the Chrome Mox, effectively resetting it. The Exile is just going to be gone now. So that Chrome Mox can still come down as a zero cast and get him a storm count, but he'd have to exile another card from his hand in order to get the effect of tapping for mana. Another Dragon's Rage coming down. I think it's got Delirium at this point, or it might not. Yeah, creatures in the graveyard, and that sorcery expressive iteration makes it so Dragon's Rage comes in for 3. We see a Lotus Petal, or a Lion's Eye Diamond, drew a Desperate Ritual. And Fred set up the top of his library so that Delver of Secrets did flip. Now we're chugging in for 6 damage a turn here, so 2 turns to dig himself out of it. Just firing down the Chrome Mox there. Exiling Desperate Ritual. Hoping maybe to draw into something next turn. See the Ponder on Fred's side. It's got that Force of Will. And yeah, Kelvin's just going to pack it up. And we're going to move on to game 2 here. Kelvin just drew and passed for his first turn and didn't deploy anything, so he went to discard that Echo. A great card to have in the graveyard if he can just kind of knock out his hand here. He can draw into all sorts of extra gas. We see the Shatter Skull getting deployed and trying to cast that Desperate Ritual. Gets a Daze, exiles the Elvish to pay for it, but a second Daze is going to stop him from being able to go off. And then we see that Wasteland for the Shatter Skull pass. That was a tough set of plays there. And now we're seeing the Surgical Extraction on the Echo. Fred really taking apart Kelvin's plan here. 3 Echoes out of the deck. We do see the Charbelchers in hand. So if Kelvin is somehow able to deploy enough mana here, then he might still be able to make it happen. But we do see Fred holding on to a Force of Will. Unfortunately, the combo deck kind of soft to a single Force of Will, especially if it's an all-in plan on something like that Charbelcher artifact. Got 2 threats in play. Fred is just kind of holding up and hitting in for 6. Down to 3 life already. And yeah, Kelvin's going to pack it in. So kind of a short one this time. Hope you still enjoyed it. We will be back with more content shortly. Sorry for the delay for the day. Thank you to Spellhold Games for the use of their space. We can literally not exist without them, so big thanks to them. The deck lists, if you're interested, are in the description of this channel, and please like and subscribe if you like these videos. It really helps out the channel and really gets our name out there. And our next video is actually going to be the first round from our most recent tournament, which was the 26th. It's going to be High Tide versus Loampox. We'll see you then.